In the Southern Highlands of Papua New Guinea, there's only one really efficient way to access remote areas. For outposts built high up on rugged and volatile terrain, the helicopter is integral to the survival of any kind of operation. This outpost is a power station owned by the mining company Oil Search. It operates day and night with highly organized security. For the past 10 years, Oil Search has been converting gas into electricity, enough to power the largest gold mine in Papua New Guinea. In fact, Oil Search have the resources to feed a gas pipeline from here to the coast and under the sea to Australia. The Oil Search workers call this home for a month at a time. They're predominantly local people. Only 21 expat Australians, 40 PNG nationals, and 100 members of the Huli tribe. For all of them, the company represents the real prospect of progress in this isolated region notorious for its explosive tribal wars. The Huli see themselves as the chosen people. Their contact with the outside world is relatively recent, and even that contact has been minimal. Tribal killings are still a respected and necessary part of Huli law. While the Huli work and live at the Oil Search compound, they abide by company disciplines and regulations. Outside the compound, tribal law still rules. 3 valleys away from the plant, the Huli are celebrated. Despite their tribal traditions, they're never entirely divorced from the world of corporate business. They're dancing on some of New Guinea's richest oil and gas deposits, which they lease to Oil Search. The Huli have been living in the Southern Highlands for several centuries. They're the dominant tribe, and they've earned a reputation for being territorially aggressive. There are hundreds of individual Huli clans, and tribal tensions are never far from flashpoint. Just outside the main Oil Search compound at the local markets, Oil Search employee Henry Tanduma was savagely attacked while on duty. Henry's wounds are deep and severe, yet he's still conscious. The company medical team need to try and stabilize Henry. They've got to work fast. He's lost a lot of blood, and there are no facilities here to give him a blood transfusion. The medics will have to fly Henry to the nearest hospital, 100 kilometers away. But right now, there are no helicopters at the base.
how many helicopters have you got around the Hides area available? We may need to call on them. Just want to know what choppers you have in Hagen.
Rumours are already spreading that the attack on Henry is part of a clan war.
Yeah, I think we should just go out there and find out from the people at the gate there what the real situation is. I mean, everybody will have their own voice.
Gerson, Senior Manager of Community Relations, is preparing to go out to Huli communities to gather information. Greg has always expected that, sooner or later, something like this would happen. Apart from his concerns for the company, Greg is personally affected. He's known Henry Tanduma for 10 years.
Well, what's your early assumptions?
The axe or knife or whatever has slashed into his lungs. So that's why these two tubes are in here. They've hacked into his head, but the lungs was more important at the minute, so that's just why we're doing that. He ain't got much of a blood pressure, so he's obviously lost a lot. They've hacked into his left arm, I haven't really looked at that. They've hacked into his right shoulder, I haven't really looked at that. Just caused lungs, you know. And he's unconscious and ventilated, respirator, say what you want, you know, just, yeah.
Can we land the plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's land out front.
Yeah.
Right. G'day John, it's Greg. How you going?
Greg reports to head office.
Well, we were all right until about an hour ago, or half an hour ago. Henry Tanduma has been chopped up outside the front gate. At this stage, everything's pretty calm. We've got a bunch of hoolies from outside come through the gate and into the camp, so we're trying to sort out who should be in and who should be out at the moment.
Listen, who's going? That's it? Okay. Put this bag under the seat.
As Henry is transported to Pyam Hospital, Oil Search go into crisis management. This is a highly dangerous situation. Oil Search believe that Henry's attack is part of a war between two clans, and the company have members of both clans working at the plant. Because of the fear of reprisals, it's decided that anyone potentially involved in the conflict must be evacuated. Oil Search realize that in a war, these workers' first loyalties are to their clan, not to the company. 45 of the local Huli are sent home. That's nearly half the Huli workforce. The company waste no time. They send Gerson and an interpreter to Kulu, the home of one of Henry's 4 wives. A local leader helps the company by acting as a go-between.
He said, we got a very important project here, the gas project. As you can look up along that mountain, that's where the trillion cubic feet of gas sleeping under it. And we all leaders agreed that this project will benefit everybody, so we don't want to fight. People, you can see that they have bows and arrows, homemade weapons, things like that, and people look very aggressive. But we assure them that there won't be any fight along this area.
The vicious attack on Henry Tanduma is nothing but what I would call cowardness by the attackers. We recognise there is a problem in the community with tribal fighting. One thing that is unclear to myself and many other people within the project area is why Henry Tanduma. And it's disturbing that he has been attacked, because he is not tied up with any of the tribal fighting that's going on. Henry's in a serious but stable, as I understand it, condition tonight in Pyam Hospital. I guess over the next couple of days will be a good indication of whether Henry will still be with us in a week's time.
During the night, in the Pyam Hospital, Henry Tanduma died of his wounds. Now, officially, it's murder. A special unit of PNG Mobile Police arrive at the oil search base.
I take it most of you have come here well very briefed on our situation here at the project site. Basically, it's nothing to do with the company, and the locals also know that we're not here to go out and take sides with any tribal clan. That is not our job. We are here to show the presence of the authority, and that law and order still maintains within the project area, and the project continues to operate uninterrupted.
Yeah, we'll go up to Henry's first wife's village, and we will tell her the bad news about Henry. I need to have Chief Akawi, because Chief is the Witter clan, where Henry comes from, and it's important that they come along and assist me in breaking the bad news to his family.
Greg Smart and interpreter arrive in the community where Henry Tanduma grew up.
Look, you probably are aware that Henry yesterday got brutally attacked by 3 criminals at Ngoli. Unfortunately, during the night, Henry passed away. I would like to see also his family come down to Ngoli, because we would like to assist in their grieving.
Henry's death triggers a careful internal investigation.
They're okay photos, yeah. But
Medical Officer Rick Loveridge and Security Supervisor Darren Williams begin a forensic study of the attack on Henry.
People have asked me for these photos and I've refused and said that they ask you and no one else.
Oil Search have paid for 2 embalmers who bring an empty coffin from Port Moresby. The managing director of Oil Search has also flown in, together with a consultant investigator. This is the first time in the company's history that an Oil Search employee has been murdered while on duty. They're keen to unearth the reasons for Henry's murder.
Okay, gents, well, as we discussed yesterday, the next step in this process is to go through the investigation process of Henry's murder. So, Chris, you might want to walk through what the objectives are, the process for the investigation, and obviously we need to spend some time on the analysis of the incident at some stage and look at what we learnt, whether we can do it any better. But if you could walk us through the agenda.
I will. Well, let me just take you through. I've put all this information on the board. It's sort of it'll look a bit higgledy-piggledy, but the objectives of the investigation, I think there's three key things we're going to look at. We're going to determine the events leading up to the incident to find the cause with a view to prevention in future, okay? So I want to determine the events leading up, and that's going to mean talking to people, looking at evidence, getting documentation, etc. The second thing that is extremely important is to formulate conclusions as to the likely causes of the incident. And obviously a lot of the security implications are going to be very important there. And thirdly, and very importantly again, these are the big three, recommend actions to prevent a similar occurrence.
Okay. Any other comments, queries?
The operation can still function the way it is for the time being. We can survive without those positions for a while.
The oil search plant overlooks the Tagari River, which is the natural boundary of this turbulent valley. The west side is the home of the Pereni people. They've got the gas leases. The east side is the home of the Tani people. They've got the road access to the highlands. Pereni and Tani are at war with each other. Oil search are in the middle, and their murdered employee, Henry, was married to a woman with a Pereni connection. The managers crossed the river to the oil search supply base on the east side, the Tani side. Rumours are already circulating that workers from the supply base are involved in Henry's murder. The company must make their position clear.
Good afternoon, good to see you. When you have a staff member killed, like Henry was a few days ago, that is very serious for the company. It's very serious for the people who work for Oil Search. I want to tell you that Oil Search is also a tribe. You are part of Oil Search's tribe as well. If you wear a blue shirt and you wear Oil Search on the side, you are part of our tribe. And Oil Search as a company looks after its own tribe. Oil Search sees what happened to Henry not as part of the tribal fight. Henry was wearing a blue shirt with Oil Search, he was working for us, and he was killed. And therefore we see Henry's death not a payback, but as murder.
One of the most difficult messages to convey to the Huli is the Western concept of murder.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, clearly, at the moment, we have some problems. A lot of our workers do come from the local community, and we're very pleased to have them on board. But equally, I must say that we have workers up at Kibalu that come from the local community that are effectively the other side of the line in the tribal fight. This is very important for the company. I think it's very important for the communities involved. We understand the cultural complexities and tribal complexities, but the bottom line is if you commit a crime, it is a crime, and we will be asking the police to apply the full force of law and protect effectively our staff. Both John Speed and I have come up here to appropriately review a number of things. Firstly is to do what the company can to look after Henry and make sure that he is presented back to his people and family in an appropriate way, and that will hopefully happen tomorrow morning. That process we will pass Henry's body over to the community to look after and do their normal and traditional things.
Oil Search have spared no effort to create the appropriate handback procedure.
The arrangement is...
All available staff are gathered to give Henry's body back to his people.
Number one.
The body has been embalmed so it can go on display. The company have encouraged staff to specially decorate the Oil Search vehicles for the handback procession. They've chosen the traditional huli colour of red. Over the next 6 days, Henry's body will tour through various districts, so all his family and community can mourn. As the body arrives at Kulu, hundreds of huli arrowmen circle the ambulance so they can capture Henry's spirit. There aren't many occasions when the two cultures come as close together as this. The 6 managers silently perform the final gesture of the handback. The body will remain in each community for 2 days of ritual mourning. It will be a week before Henry is buried. Having made their show of strength, the huli arrowmen suddenly disperse into the bush. At the Oil Search base, it's business as usual. Today is payday. Company staff are paying the huli chiefs for the lease of their energy-rich land.
There is a packet of 300 kina in respect of the road.
Everyone wants to maintain this relationship. The Pereni, the Tani and Oil Search.
20, 40, 60, 80.
While the lease payments are being carried out, 70% of Oil Search staff are preparing for tomorrow's funeral. It's a big exercise in logistics. Food is transported for the wake. Hundreds of people have travelled here from outlying huli communities. Everyone is taking part in the funeral preparations. Oil Search have laid on the food as a gesture of friendship. The company supplies food and logistic support. But it's their policy never to provide money. It always causes fights. Travel arrangements are made to transport Henry's 4 wives, his children, father, and over 50 family members to the ceremony.
No problem.
The funeral site is made ready. The community have decided to bury Henry exactly where he was cut down, 500 metres outside the Oil Search gates. The company have agreed to this condition, but they're apprehensive. With so many huli working here, it's the perfect opportunity for payback.
Katia is leading his men, and so that these people don't feel threatened. That's why you saw him waited for his group, and he's leading his group in just to reassure people that they are coming here. Although they are armed, they are basically here to assist prepare the burial site.
A lot of uninvited Pereni warriors have come in from outlying areas. Greg Smart calls in Chief John, the warlord of the Pereni people, to discuss the funeral day. Chief John's also lost a relative in this current war.
He was revealing what he has. He was on even Dora. Why you on every year of Dora? Why am I Ponga? For Lamy. Henry's killing is no. They took his life for no reason at all, and he's innocent peasant that they took his life.
Okay. I'm hearing different. I'm hearing that it is related from many people.
You
know, we are wanting the police to do their job in relation to Henry's death. We're also wanting the police to look into the other murders that has taken place over the last few days or few weeks. Obviously tomorrow we've got the funeral for Henry, yeah, and there's going to be a lot of people around tomorrow. At the moment there's a lot of angry people around the place just busting to have a fight. We've made it clear to them that we do not want any fighting tomorrow. We want this to be peaceful. If you want to fight, you go back to Pereni or go somewhere else and fight. But I don't want any fighting around the project here.
Oh, okay. They haru. Ega haru bida mere magani. Jawi ho mararu. Oh, me thik diga minya. Ai wai buru na jawi hera na minya. Aurara ai wai buru jagua. Oh na. Wai pa ata wai ma ko na wi. Wai ma ju sani le buru ndu kunga. Oh ba me phagai kwaji.
I don't want to see any more killing at all. Now, you know, it's a white man's talk. It's not Huli tradition. But you guys will, at the end of the day, decide the fate of how things will go. I've lost one very dear friend, a very close friend that I've known for 10 years. I don't want to lose any more. Okay?
In the oil search compound, company women work late into the night preparing funeral garments.
This is for the first wife. Second wife. Third wife and fourth wife, yeah. For the 4 wives. It is a tradition that the women must wear black garment to show that their husband has died, so now they are widow. They believe that the husband's spirit might come back and kill the wives and take them away while they are asleep, or if they just go around like that.
Today, security is critical. It's Henry's burial day, and the police have to make sure the 2 warring clans stay on their own sides of the river, avoiding any further payback. There are 2 mobile police units, plus backup, stationed on the bridge.
There's some rumors that people from the other side on the bridge, but Darren is aware of. There's a MS-10 is standing by there, and Darren is organized that. So.
Okay.
As is customary for the Huli, Chief Kardia acknowledges the most significant participants in the funeral ritual, such as relatives on every side of Henry's family, and especially the man who is, perhaps, the most important mourner, Henry's father.
Papa Senduma.
Very sorry.
As the Pereni women grieve, they also express their anger. Those who carry knives are sending a clear message to the Pereni men: take revenge. A guard of honor escorts Henry's body along the route to the funeral site and acts as a deterrent against attack. Oil Search are carefully monitoring every aspect of this funeral on both sides of the river. From this point on, only essential staff will attend the funeral.
You mentioned it, didn't you?
Yeah.
You promise?
Yeah.
Rick doesn't want to leave anything to chance. He's going to make sure Henry's coffin will fit the tomb.
Big enough for me.
Oil Search need to bury Henry efficiently, respectfully, and quickly. Henry's body finally arrives. The slightest discord could ignite a bloody battle. Any delay in proceedings puts hundreds of lives at risk. As the women and Henry's father mourn, all eyes watch out for any sign of trouble.
So all the speeches will be down there? The leaders?
Yes.
Okay. Divine intervention. Rain. Oil Search couldn't have organized a better diffuser of tensions. The huli cool off. They don't want to get their ceremonial finery drenched. The funeral is over, but Henry's 4 wives will be mourning for up to a year. Straight after the funeral, Greg Smart has to fly to the other side of the river, the Tani side. The Tani clans aren't happy about all the attention that Oil Search is paying to the Pereni clans. The Tani contend that more Tani people have died in this war. Greg has to clarify the company's position.
The issue that we're talking about right now is to do with a clan problem, okay? Politicians are not going to sort this one out for us. We have to sort it out ourselves. If a pig is inside my pen and it gets killed, I get very angry, okay? If the pig is outside my pen and running around and it gets killed, then I have no control over that pig. When the pig is inside my pen, I have all control. At the moment, Joseph, and unfortunately for Joseph and Jack, okay, I had no control. They were outside the pen. But Henry Tanduma, he was inside the pen, and that's a big difference. And you know, the old man needs to understand that.
Before the day's over, Greg will have to give this same explanation to 2 more grieving Tani communities. So far, so good. Henry has been laid to rest without incident. At the company compound, the everyday routine continues. Yet everybody knows this is a tribal war, and there will be more killings. There were 7 deaths on the Tani side of the river, while here on the Pereni side, only 2. Or maybe 3, if Henry is ever considered part of the war. In the Huli world, deaths have a spiritual and monetary significance. Monetary value, as well as symbolic value, is expressed in pigs. Pigs like these in the oil search compound symbolize wealth and represent currency. The Huli used pigs to settle grievances and as compensation payments for war dead. Each clan or community pays compensation within its own side, not to the side it's at war with. Anger over a man's death can be purged by the delivery of a large number of full-grown pigs. But if many lives have been lost, the amount of pigs and cash required for proper compensation can be too great. So the clan's only option is to wage further war, so that the numbers of dead on both sides can be equal. The oil search pigs will not be used for death compensation. That would destroy the company's neutrality. Chris is a medical student. He was part of the medical team who attended to Henry in the emergency room. Today he's flying back to Australia. So is Rick. He works up here 1 month on, 1 month off.
Well, Chris, are you done?
Yes.
You packed? What a tour.
Packed, ready to roll.
What a tour.
That's it, it's over. Let's go home.
But it's not over for Greg. He's got to ensure there's a smooth transition between outgoing and incoming staff.
Bruce, how are you? Good.
Bruce Hayes is the incoming security supervisor.
Why don't you give Bruce a bit of a rundown on what's been happening from the community point of view?
So far, keeping Henry's group under control has been very good. They've been very effective. They're basically playing a waiting game.
Now that Henry is buried, we're sort of moving forward to some sort of reconciliation with the warring parties. John Jacanara has had a meeting with myself and Gerson. John's happy to go to mediation now, but then so he probably would be, seeing he's got 7 scalps under his belt already. He's probably had done enough killing now to call truce, but a bit hesitant to say that the other side's ready to come to mediation.
A tribal war is part of the status quo when you do business in the Southern Highlands. That's why Greg hasn't cancelled a tour of the oil search plant by a group of investors. He's been assured by the Huli that there will be no hostilities today. These businessmen from Australia and Northern Europe are making their first contact with oil searchers' Huli business partners. The Huli chiefs know how important it is to give the impression that they pose no threat to oil searchers' ongoing stability, and that Henry's death will not impede progress.
This is like a moat.
The chiefs are perfectly sincere. After all, for them, warfare is a normal state of affairs.
How far?
Everyone knows the rules of the game. Just down the road from the compound is the almost complete crypt for Henry Tanduma.
They always make a little house for when they bury them.
How long do they keep the house up?
They keep it forever. You'll see lots of them everywhere you go. People who've been killed in trial fights or people who've just died, but they make a little house for them.
Did you copy that? Go for it, it's running. Yeah, they're running around in circles.
The investors have gone, and tribesmen are massing on the other side of the river, the Tani side.
Roger. Yeah, it's not for our benefit, it's for their posturing, you know.
We just have a local situation here that's last few days to a bit of, converging of local rival tribesmen from the other side of the river. So, we thought as a precautionary measure we'll get the police to be within close proximity of the area, so anything happens we can, fend them off.
These allies of the Pereni are waiting outside the oil search compound. They know there's trouble in the air and they're ready for it.
I'll just get the MS-10 commander advised, see if that section's on its way, get the other vehicle mobile, and a pair of you get out there and patrol around and just keep an eye on what's going on.
Greg's tour of duty is almost over. He's concerned about the possible escalation of the war. So, with most of his community affairs officers absent, he decides to bring in an outside expert on the huli, an anthropologist who can help oil search navigate their way through this complex culture. Lawrence Goldman has been coming up here since the 1970s. He's a world authority on the huli and one of the few Europeans who can speak their language. Most importantly, the huli trust Goldman. He's going to put together a report on the current conflict. To do so, he'll have to journey into highly dangerous territory and effect a face-to-face meeting with the owners of the war. The first place Goldman flies to is the Pereni stronghold. Ostensibly, he is here to attend the wake for a man who was killed earlier in the war. This will be the final acknowledgement of one war dead.
So this is for one man for Delhi?
For Delhi alone.
Only, this is a very big homonigal. So did you contribute a pig? Or?
I have about 7 pigs.
You gave 7 pigs for the homonigal?
Yes.
Many different groups of relatives will be attending the ceremony. This group announced their arrival with the pig chant, which means they're ready to take part in the feast. They're all relatives on the mother's and father's side of the dead man.
That uniform they're wearing, those are Gob's tears, Hongo beads, and then they've got a particular kind of decoration called yai, dindi yai, and that's worn for mourning. Men carry their weapons to these occasions. Partly, I think, as a show of strength, but I mean partly because it's at these occasions you can often expect trouble. Things break out. Is now a good time for the Tanis to come across when people are busy?
Yep, that is why we do not see the rest of the men here. All the warriors are down by the riverside.
Okay.
Today, more than 10 pigs will be consumed, half the compensation quota for the deceased. It's now timely for Goldman to find out about the status of Henry's death compensation.
So the fight owners don't want to compensate Henry's relatives just yet in case they suffer some more problems from the fighting, in which case they will have to pay out more money.
They will have to pay out more money, so they don't want to
pay out to Henry's just yet. If they don't suffer any more fatalities, then they'd be quite happy to.
They would be quite happy to
pay out to Henry. Okay.
This group are the acknowledged elders from the Peace and Good Order Committee. Today they'll be overseeing all the compensation issues. Later they'll be responsible for peace negotiations.
Company, government, or Hamagini Mende, or Tara, T. Bainale.
For all Huli, this kind of feast is the ritual for war compensation. It's also important as a unifying event. By sharing meat together, the community is expressing its kinship with the dead man. Greg Smart's current tour of duty is over. He's flying back to his family in Australia. On the tiny side of the river, Lawrence Goldman has gone to the source of all the trouble. Deep in enemy territory, he set up a meeting with Nelson Bayou, the owner of this war. This war started when one of Nelson's relatives groped a Pereni woman.
Hey, how many?
Traditionally, the owner of a war is the one held responsible for all deaths sustained by his clan.
Henry Paru, oh, trouble you, only, you carry people to go, you kill Angunga, 7 years, oh, in a Waipura. I don't know, Pombeguna Brigua, Pombeguna Brigua, Muni no Tarigas has improved.
No, Nakarve.
Oh, no, Munit or Tarigora. Belco now more 20,000, 30,000 with Bolivia. And Veru are 1 birona. Aburvata now in a way, Pia would have done. Ari.
So what he's basically saying is that it is too many people for him to pay compensation.
That's right.
And that for that reason, that's why he has to go and kill back some people.
Yes.
What Nelson says he'll do, he'll do. He won't shirk his responsibility. The shame would be unbearable. Until he can fully compensate his clan, Nelson has to keep on killing. He must remain in hiding until he does. Rumors are flying that there's been another revenge killing by the Tani. A Pereni has been killed on this side of the river. Pereni warriors have been running towards the gates of the compound. Oil search people are trying to work out what the Pereni are doing. Is this posturing or genuine aggression? There's a security breach. 2 Pereni warriors have jumped the fence.
Bruce Hayes, George Clapp.
Yeah, George.
We've got some people coming over the fence here, running down towards the front gate, over. He's down at the house window at the present moment, over.
It's an impulsive act. They're looking for a tiny target to vent their anger. But suddenly, the tribal war is right inside the compound. Emergency drill is usually practiced on a Monday morning, not now. Every staff member knows something's very wrong. They all run to the marshalling point, the canteen.
Just come inside if you can, please.
Once everyone's inside, they'll be locked in until security give them the all clear.
Okay, let's get some names.
The roll is called to make sure no one is still outside.
Peter Parwy.
Ibrug.
Him Marty. Okay.
Most of the staff don't know what's going on out there. They know there are warriors in the compound, but how many?
Joyce.
The women are terrified of being raped or attacked. The oil search chopper checks to see whether warriors are massing anywhere around the compound. They're not. The Pireni only carry bows and arrows. The police are under strict instructions not to fire. Outside, in the compound, Security Manager Bruce Hayes confronts the warriors, and unarmed, he talks them down.
Everything seems to be under control out there at the moment. There has been a murder down near the front gate, between the front gate and Ngoli Market. It appears to be a murder in retaliation with regard to this round of tribal fighting happening at the moment. So until we get a full angle on everything and until we're happy to release everyone out of here back to the workplace, I just ask that you stay here, have a cup of tea and just put your heels up for a little while. The problem was we had some landowners behind the lands office there who were very frustrated with what happened, and as a result they jumped the fence. When the police arrived, they decided to take their frustration out on the police by firing a few arrows at them. So we've spoken to them, and the leaders out there have apologised for the actions that they took and said that they were just frustrated. So everything seems to be quite calm out there at the moment. Anyone that you know is not an English speaker.
Oil Search know that the Huli like to talk things over. So Bruce has deliberately taken no action, made no threats or demands, and he has diffused a potentially explosive situation.
Okay guys, this afternoon's practice is out of the 212. All right, your safety lines are across the front of the aircraft here. And,
half the Huli workforce is still laid off. Until the cycle of tribal payback and compensation is complete, they can't come back to work. It's too dangerous.
Hands on heads.
In the meantime, the company have to carry on with operations. It's Saturday afternoon, and Oil Search aren't going to let any training opportunity slip by.
James has got a handheld. Yep.
While there's a chopper available, these 3 hand-picked volunteers have gone up with their trainer to practice rappelling. This kind of emergency medical team is the only one in the region. It's essential to keep their skills sharply honed, skills that could well determine the fine line between life and death. Patience, focus and teamwork are fundamental to this special type of corporate culture, because up here, external forces are constantly testing that culture. Anthropologist Lawrence Goldman believes the war could continue for 6 months. Huli law hasn't changed, and Oil Search realize they can't simply apply Western logic to solve their problems. Henry's Crypt on the road to Oil Search is a reminder of that.